that sort of created our very first organizing committee meeting. And from that point on, we've stuck by each other throughout this whole experience.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Let's say you've convinced me. I'm a listener. I'm convinced. This sounds dope as hell. I want to do one of these things. How do I do that? I'll kick it over to you, Graham. You've got some firsthand experience. How does one do a union?
Yes. So the first step in doing a union is first to form an organizing committee. So a group of trusted coworkers that you can rely on and you can trust to do a lot of the legwork. Also to keep it secret at the beginning, because the element of surprise is a source of power and was a huge source of power for us at REI. But yeah, the very first step is to find, my coworkers, I was actually approached by a coworker and they were like, hey, come to the park. I want to talk to you about something. And so from that, that sort of created our very first organizing committee meeting. And from that point on, we've stuck by each other throughout this whole experience, from having one-on-one conversations with our coworkers after that. Sorry, there's a cat. And getting authorization cards signed, having our election, going through the experience of union busting. So yeah, step one, find some trusted coworkers and meet with them often to sort of map your workplace and get the strategy, the groundwork down.
What about Michelle? Do you have anything that you'd add to that? Of course, how do you form a union? Right, we're answering this in 5 minutes. We're not going to be able. There are resources. The organizing campaigns take years, right? But we're distilling this, right? So Michelle, what would you add to that?
I'm going to echo everything that Graham said. First of all, the element of surprise is very important. Finding the coworkers you can trust initially to keep that a secret, but to also help garner additional support. That conversation I referenced in my intro, I got a text message from that coworker asking me if I wanted to get a cup of coffee after one of our shifts later that week, which I will let you know. I mean, we literally serve coffee all day. So it was an interesting text message. And I was like, yeah, sure. I mean, we'll probably have already had 16 cups by that point, but yeah, absolutely. But what she also did was, I was one of the last people in Buffalo that was reached out to in our market in terms of forming that organizing committee. And I don't fault her for any of that. At that point, I'd been with the company 11 years. And so that kind of tenure usually would breed a certain level of loyalty, or at least a perceived level of loyalty. And so there was some apprehension to talking to someone who'd been with the company that long. Like I would, the potential of me feeling the opposite and running to management was pretty high. And I'm grateful every day that she still chose to have that conversation. But that's the strategy that you need to employ when you're at those very beginning stages. You have to sort of map that out. Our organizing committee was not just store specific, even though we were filing for individual stores. There's 20 stores in the Buffalo market, 20 Starbucks locations. And I believe every single one of them had at least one representative on our organizing committee. So it was really important from the beginning for us to map out the city, knowing that the company would inevitably come at us and probably try to divide and conquer in terms of pitting one store against the other. So we were able to sort of have eyes and ears on the ground in every one of those locations. And that was very essential to, like I said, Elmwood happened to be the first location to win, but there were 19 other stores in our market standing behind that store to get us over that finish line. The next step, I think, is making sure that you're there to take care of each other, because in almost every case, the anti-union campaign is going to come at you, and it's going to come at you strong. And it's very scary. and it's very intimidating. And a lot of this new labor movement is on the younger side. You know, I'm not including myself in that. I'm actually probably on the older side of it. But a lot of my coworkers, 2 of the coworkers at the Elmwood location were high school seniors, and they're being brought into, you know, 1-on-1s or 2-on-1s or 3-on-1s with not only, you know, upper management and corporate, but, you know, the president of Starbucks North America, who's bringing in $4 million a year. That's an intimidating situation. So making sure that you're continually checking in on your coworkers after those instances, seeing what kind of support they need, showing them what you're able to give them, you know, as one of their fellow workers, as the union that corporate is just not concerned about. They don't care about the mental health of what they're putting these young workers through. They don't care about the physical toll, you know, that is having on them. And so making sure that your coworkers feel as supported as possible. And if there are coworkers who don't feel like they have the strength to use their voices in those anti-union meetings, you know, I think back to some of those instances and watching coworkers be brought to tears because of just the stress of being put in that situation to begin with. Having the voice to speak, to stand up for them and say, this is wrong. What you're doing to this person is wrong. It shouldn't be happening. And, you know, I'm going to stand with them and I'll use my voice if they don't feel like they can use theirs. That was what allowed us to get that first store. And that's what's allowing all of these stores since then. I'm watching the solidarity of baristas across the country stand up for one another, and call corporate out on their absolutely awful behavior. And when one person stands up, it gives the next person the strength to stand up. And that's what's happening right now.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project. And you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.